Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to Meet Menaca, celebrating you, episode 66. Today, we are going to be speaking about caste. Is it even a matter to talk about with Suja Koreira? Before we go into the speaker and the subject for today, firstly, thank you so much for supporting us so far. About Meet Menaca features real people sharing real stories, and it is a 90-minute multicultural online talk show to celebrate you. We have authentic guest speakers from all over the world to tackle head-on many negative and less talked about social topics and health issues. Our goal is to inform you and help you create positive change in your lives, and together we can create social change around us. So how you can join this talk show? It's a free event. You can join to listen and learn by clicking on a link which our team usually share on Facebook and on Zoom. So please, by clicking, you can register and join us on Zoom. You can also join our community to be part of the social change by joining the Facebook group or WhatsApp group. And all our sessions are live again on YouTube. We record the first half of our session and it at YouTube Meet Menaca. You can go and have a look. Please support our channel to add value, share inspirational messages, and create positive change by subscribing. You can also hit the bell icon to be notified and benefit from the videos. Let's go back to today's session, episode 66 about caste. Let me talk about Suja Koreira. Firstly, a very warm welcome to Suja.
Thank you, Menaca. Hello, everyone.
Suja is highly qualified and respected solicitor who practices in immigration, nationality, and human rights. She began her career in the public sector as a public service interpreter, worked as interpreter with various public service organizations from Home Office, police forces, courts, and tribunals, social services to NHS. From an early age of 19, Suja has worked with victims of domestic violence and issues relating to dowry. She also gained invaluable insight into the other side of the story when she had the opportunity to interpret for the abusers. She is passionate about equal rights for women and regularly donates her time to charities that benefit from her unique expertise. Social justice is her passion and belief in inclusive society. She keeps fit, loves to travel, and experience food from all around the world. And beyond all that, I haven't known Suja for a long time, but I am glad to say she has become a close friend in a very short time. Really honored to have you, Suja, and I know how passionate you are about these subjects. What is caste? Should we be even talking about this at this time in the 21st century in 2021? So according to Wikipedia, caste is a form of social stratification characterized by endogamy, hereditary transmission of a style of life, which often include an occupation, ritual status in a hierarchy, and customary social interaction, and exclusion based on cultural notions of purity and pollution. So particularly in South Asia, people are believed to be born into a caste system that determines their social status, career, and access to resources and opportunities. The caste system is so ingrained into society, people have adjusted their life to fit in. They don't want to talk about it. Is this practice acceptable in this 21st century? Does this segregation in any way add value to anyone's life? So let's hear from Suja Koreira to understand how to overcome issues such as this and for once openly talk about it. So start with Suja, more than anything else, I'm sure a lot of people don't even know what is caste in the Western countries, though there might be hidden versions of them. To enlighten all the audience, what is caste to begin with?
Well, according to Oxford Dictionary, that is always my starting point for any definition in English. Caste is defined as each of the hereditary classes of Hindu society based on purity, pollution, and social status. So this is what caste is defined as in Oxford Dictionary. It specifies of the Hindu society. But let's not forget, it is a stratification of social status within a community. It doesn't have to be from Hindu society because it practiced very prevalently in Pakistan. We have in Sri Lankan Sinhalese community practicing caste system. And also the caste system is practiced in many ways across the globe. The Japanese community has some caste system in there. Even in Europe, if you think about it, the class system is very similar to the caste system. It's probably not named as caste, but the practice is quite similar. So it is a social stratification. That's the first point. And in Hindu system, it is based on their jobs mainly. At the same time, what we have to remember is it's an ascribed status. It's not a chosen one. It's given to you and it's not earned. So you cannot earn this status in any way, shape or form. It's given to you, either you got it or not. And according to UNICEF, there are 250 million people across the globe who are affected by caste issues. In fact, the term caste that's widely used in India was introduced to India by the Portuguese, not even from English. And then the same word can be somewhat connected to Spanish, which is called as castas, which is the system that's used in now available or it's being practiced in South America. And then we have the term actually in Dutch, in Finnish, everywhere along. So obviously in India, it would have had a different term, but the general term caste was introduced to India by Portuguese. Hence, the Oxford Dictionary mainly focused on the Hindu caste system. That doesn't mean the others don't practice or it doesn't exist anywhere else. But in South Asia, it's predominantly practiced and it's very much still live and kicking. That's why it is very much focusing on the South Asian community. The rest of the world has somewhat diluted it. I wouldn't say they got rid of it because we still have royal families in the UK and European countries. So it does exist, but it's been diluted. People have grown out of it or moved out of it, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. The main reason we all focus goes to South Asia or India mainly is because of the prevalence of it. It is being practiced on a daily basis. Hence, we are always focusing on that, but the system exists across the world.
Thanks, Suja. And I totally agree. There are different systems and very subtle in different parts of the world, but it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It is in one form or the other. I think it's very well hidden in certain parts of the world, and it is very obvious and not subtle in certain parts of the world. And I think that that's the main difference. But I think we South Asians do take it to another level for sure.
Absolutely.
Talking about it, firstly, let me start about for the benefit of everyone, and I think it's only fair to talk on both sides. So why it should not be practiced?
Well, it's a system that's created purely to segregate people, discriminate people, block access to people. There is no way, nowhere it shows it is created for the right reason. It was created based on the jobs done. We're no longer doing those jobs, or everyone's doing every job. So the relevance doesn't exist anymore in a way. And it mainly based on people's ego. It feeds men's, I don't know how to say, self-reverence, I would say. The self-reverence actually eclipses the human conscious. Our conscious is actually covered by this special reverence. I am of this caste, therefore I am better, I am bigger. No, we are all human beings. That basic concept itself completely negates the fact that it should exist in this world. It shouldn't exist. It is actually a disease. It's contagious. Why it's even being done, we don't know. It's unbelievable how this hierarchy of caste is. It's not the hierarchy of caste. If we think about it, it's not about feelings. It's not about morality. It's just ego. It's about power. Who has it? Who hasn't got it? Who has more of it or who has less of it? It's all about that. One person, somehow, it's a man-made system that was designed to segregate people based on their jobs they are saying. But these jobs and these groups, they actually oppress and suppress each group. How could we actually justify the existence of such system? If we actually say, I'm better, I'm bigger, I'm revered, I'm self-revered, I'm better, I have more power. Why do we need that system to exist in this world? Isn't that the whole point of this inclusive society, is to get rid of these systems? And then we're still sitting there practicing it and very much focusing on it. So that's the whole point, why it should not be practiced. I mean, as I said, the caste system earlier, I said it exists in every part of the world in different formats. I mean, I would like to give an example which I came across whilst I was researching for this show of Martin Luther King. The great Martin Luther King always wanted to travel to India. So once he finished once he achieved some of his goals in the United States, he travels to India and he spends a lot of time. He meets then Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru. He sits down with him, has a meal. Then he travels across the country and goes down to Trivandrum in Kerala. But throughout his journey from north in Delhi to Trivandrum, he's been greeted like a celebrity. People went to him, took autograph from him, and he couldn't understand why these people revere me so much, why they so like me like an actor or a celebrity. I'm not a celebrity. Eventually, he reaches Trivandrum and he goes to a school where a very outcast caste people go attend school. The school principal takes him and he introduced him to the students. Young fellows, meet a fellow outcast. And the term he used there was meet the fellow untouchable. Martin Luther King was absolutely flawed. He didn't know why he was referred to as that at that time. Then when he paused and saw the oppression these people are actually experiencing, which is very similar to the oppression his people experienced in the United States. So that's when he realized, yes, there is a caste system in India that's oppressing people, just like the race discrimination that's actually pushed upon his people in the United States. So that's how this caste system, it shouldn't be existing at all. This is from the great Martin Luther King, so I don't have to say any more.
If great Martin Luther King can go through it, anybody else can. Imagine the plight of a normal person. You know, it is shocking, appalling, but, you know, history has taught us a lot, and this is definitely one to consider. Can I ask you, like Martin Luther King's story happened many, centuries, decades ago. Then why are we still talking about it today in 2021?
Because it's still alive and kicking. It hasn't gone away. It's still very much alive. It hasn't shunned away. There's very few people, yes, they came out of it. They want this system to be eradicated. They are fighting for it. However, that is a very small percentage. And unfortunately, whether we like it or not, the system, the caste system has traveled across the globe now. The globalization meant that we all left from our countries of birth and we traveled abroad and we settled down, we are living. Most of us joined here today, pretty much in that similar situation. However, we didn't leave, some people didn't leave the caste system behind. They took that with them. There is a report on Al Jazeera. I mean, I will be able to share the link later on. And that report clearly says that the United States had complaints of bullying and workplace harassment based on caste in tech companies. Most of the tech companies, as we all know, in the United States or across the globe, is actually dominated by Asian people, specifically the South Asian. And there they have decided to practice their caste system. Believe it or not, it's happening now. They have actually ostracized people, they've excluded people from their groups, and they even faced workplace bullying. given that this is a platform many doctors come and join from the United Kingdom, I must also tell them about there is an organization called Caste Watch UK. And one of their case studies showed that an elderly woman made a complaint that she received poor treatment in hospital based on her caste. And she said, the medical professional, after realizing my caste, decided not to touch me. And therefore, I received a bad service. This is a case study from Caste Watch UK. And they have written a report about it. And this is one of the reasons the Equalities Act 2010 in the United Kingdom includes or allows caste to be used as a ground for unequal treatment in the United Kingdom under Section 9. So it is very much happening. It hasn't stopped. We think we are focusing on South Asia. It's happening right at the doorstep across in the Western world as well. So that is why we are sitting here and talking about it today, than not talking about it, or that we can say we don't want to talk about it. So here we are.
I mean, particularly in the care industry, service industry rather, it is shocking that, anyone would treat anyone differently because of a caste. I mean, they shouldn't be treated for anything differently, but, who would think caste would play a part in a Western country, particularly in healthcare? It is shocking, and I think it is something for everyone to pause and think about and take it seriously, really. And
in fact, Menaca, I can actually mention the name of the report. It's called Caste Discrimination and Harassment in Great Britain, which was commissioned by National Institute of Economics and Social Research. This report was published in December 2010, which shows that the caste discrimination and harassment exist in the United Kingdom. So if anyone would like to have a read, do join in. Do take time to read that.
And I think everybody must read it, particularly if you're from Southeast Asia. It is, we learn every day. And I think it's high time we educate ourselves, and more importantly, talk about it openly in forums like this. So, people know the pitfalls of these systems, and hopefully we can get over these hurdles. Most of us who are here belong to a certain generation. Suja, I know you are much younger to many of our audiences here. But do you think we all have children growing up in Western countries or even back home? They're different generations. So do you think this system will be eradicated with time as the next generations take over?
I would love to say yes, but my answer is going to be, I don't think so. And I'm not saying that because I'm being suspicious of the whole system or I'm being cynical, but I'm basing that on experiences. As you said, I sort of fit into a generation, I can be in connection with my older generation and younger generation. So I get to meet people of different age groups. And I'll give you an example of someone I met in 2010 in a workplace environment, a young girl. She was born in Sri Lanka probably, but she was brought up in Europe. She was a law student at that time. I mean, I don't know what she's doing now, but she was a law student at that time. And she told me one thing. My mom told me, when you meet someone, before you get serious, please let me know who you are meeting so I can check and see what's his caste is. I was absolutely gobsmacked. And I'm like, so you're going to fall in love with someone after you tick the box to say he's of your caste, pretty much. She said, yeah, but I'm ready to do that for my parents. No. You are lying to yourself here. You are not falling in love, or you are not entering into a relationship with someone because you love him, but purely because after you tick the box that he's of the right caste to be. So that is happening in the United Kingdom. If she was a law student at that time, she would have been under 21 at that time. And she was very much into this caste instilled by her parents. So, I mean, she's probably in her 30s now, and she probably is married, I don't know. But I don't know whether she married or getting married to somebody based on his caste or not. I hope she has developed, she has grown up, she got out of it and realized that would be the wrong thing to do and done the right thing. But in my personal experience, that girl's explanation told me it's not going to go away anytime soon, because she is a young girl who's studying law, brought up in Western country, who's actually in effect going to fight for other people's rights if she decides to take public law. Is actually very much content about getting married to someone based on their caste. So how is this going to go away? Again, that's one example. The other example on the other side is the tech companies, people working in IT professions. These are the people who are actually giving us all the technology like what we are doing now, Zoom. Yet, obviously, technology develops so we can connect from every different part of the world. But obviously they haven't developed. Their thought process hasn't developed. They're still stuck in the past. They're happy to discriminate their fellow colleague based on the caste. So how is this ever going to go away? Hence my answer is, I don't think so. Unfortunately, it's the saddest truth, bitter truth, but we just have to digest it.
So why do you think it is, Suja? I mean, obviously you would think, particularly like the example you gave, including yourself, you came here when you were very, very young and you're brought up in a Western environment and you grow up thinking diversity and inclusion is as important as, breathing. So why do you think people are still holding on to these systems after all that influence in the Western countries?
Well, thank you for pointing out the fact that my personal experience, I moved to the UK when I was 15. I lived in Sri Lanka prior to that. And believe it or not, no one ever asked me for my caste when I was living in Sri Lanka. I never had to worry about that. It never crossed my line. I went to a school where predominantly many Hindus attended, even the school was founded by Methodists. We were all happily living together, going to school, having fun. We went to each other's house. None of us told us, don't go to this house, that house. The very first time I was asked, what is your caste, was, I can clearly say, October 2000, when I was in my first year uni. I was asked by a fellow Sri Lankan, oh, do you know your caste? And I just thought, go away, don't come anywhere near me. But the problem was, I wasn't really exposed to caste. My knowledge was not this developed. I did not understand the principles, so I didn't have an answer to give there and then. I mean, if he asked me that same question today, he will probably get different kind of answer. But at that time, I went home and asked my mother, so what's this caste? So what caste am I? And my mom was shocked because we never had this conversation until I was 19 at that time. So personally, I believe the caste system is very much being followed in the diaspora. For my personal experience, I don't know what's the situation in Sri Lanka now because I have been away from there for a long time. So I'm not one to talk about it. My personal experience, I did not talk about caste or anything back in Sri Lanka. I did not have any issues. However, in the UK, I was openly asked for my caste. And I have met people just like the example I gave. I know someone who worked in an environment where he worked with lots of Sri Lankan, and many of them belong to certain castes. And if they invited him or his family to their family events, he only went on his own. He never took his wife or children. And that's his way of keeping the distance. Believe it or not, I saw this with my own two eyes right at my arm's length. So I'm not making it up. So these kind of experiences happening in the United Kingdom and in our everyday life. And we probably, because it all depends on who we mix with. If we actually are mixing with people of like-minded who doesn't care about caste or anything, it never happened. We don't care. However, that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. That doesn't mean it's not happening. I mean, even for children who are born and brought up in the UK, when parents are introducing them with the intention of arranging their marriage, they tick the box before they introduce them. That's happening. And why it's still very much followed, I can only say one word: power. It just gives them egoistic power and the self-reference to say, I am better than them. And that power, they don't want to let go of it. They don't want it to be diluted. They don't want it to completely eradicated. Hence, they are very much following it. And it is my personal opinion based on my personal experiences and researches rather than somebody else said it.
Sure. Thank you so much for enlightening that, Suja. I mean, Suja's cousin actually didn't live very far from me, 2-3 doorsteps away from back home from Sri Lanka. So I grew up in a very multi-religious, multicultural environment. As a child, I went into different environments and different cities. And I guess it was different because my parents left home and went to university at a very young age. My grandmom went into boarding school at a very young age as well. So I guess I was brought up in a very different environment like Suja. But I was also surprised and shocked because at one of these charity events, I met a doctor and who actually said, Suja was with me whilst he was talking to us. And he actually said he never was conscious about caste until he came to the United Kingdom. He came here and he went to work. And then actually one of his colleagues, they were talking about this caste system. So he had to call back home to his dad to ask what was his caste. And he is not our generation. He's older than us, I assume. And Suja might know better about his age. I don't know his age bracket. And I was really, really surprised how much this caste system has invaded us in the Western society. So I can totally understand. It still exists, Suja. I know I can understand. Okay, so a next generation is perhaps this generation is trying to influence the next generation to take it forward. And I also agree there is a bit of power and self discrimination that someone is superior than others. So can you tell me, why are people accepting this? Okay, I can understand the superior power wanting to hold on to it, but why do you think people who are not in that position accepting this?
Well, this is another, again, we have segregated them for so long. We've oppressed them for so long. They have fought to overcome that. Once they are in a position, they are not ready to mingle with the people who oppress them. Can you blame them? But at the same time, it's not the right thing to do. Again, I can give an explanation of someone I know. And obviously, he's of a caste A and his partner is of caste B. And the girl's parents were so against this relationship. And when I actually asked, what's the problem? I said, it's caste. I said, what's the deal? And he said, apparently I'm up a higher caste than them, and they don't want me in their family. I said, are you for real? And this happened, he told me this in 2012, not long ago, 2012, just about 9 years ago, we had this conversation. I mean, they're happily married and got kids now, but they didn't allow any of this to come in their way. But the girl's mother's statement was, no, we'll stick to our community. That was the mom's statement. And it made no sense to me at that time. Then I thought about the bigger picture. Probably they were oppressed for a long time by this so-called upper caste. And suddenly they don't want to accept or mingle into that same society who oppressed them. But that's obviously not going to allow this dilution to take place or the eradication to take place. Everyone has to openly accept each other for being human being than caste or anything. I mean, none of us here, all of us here, anyone who worked abroad or we are living away from our countries, if we are discriminated based on our race at workplace, we will not stand that. But come home, we are happy to discriminate somebody else based on their caste. That's what we have to think about. Why is it okay? I think we all should take a moment to think about, why is it okay to oppress someone or even to say to ourselves, caste is important?
I totally agree with you, Suja, because I think if you think caste is okay, then discrimination according to your color or where you come from is okay as well. So, you can't pick and choose which discrimination is okay and which discrimination is not. Either discrimination is okay or not okay. It has
Absolutely.
to be generalized across the board.
Pretty much. But this is what I'm saying. Wider picture, when we go to our workplaces, we want to be treated equally. Come home, we are not prepared to treat people equally. And this is what happened. This is exactly what happens. We would not be able to create that inclusive, equal society ever if we hold on to things like this. I mean, there are so many situations. In India, I mean, this happened yesterday. It's all over South Indian news. I don't know how many of you follow this, how many of you have seen it. A young girl has been harassed at work, at school by her teacher, sexual harassment. She went and told her parents complained to the school. They went, approached authorities. No actions were taken purely because the teacher was of upper caste. This happened yesterday, and the girl has now committed suicide. And she left a note. And he has since been arrested. If only the authorities had taken that step before, without considering his caste, this girl's life wouldn't have been ended in this tragic way. This happened yesterday. It's all over the news in Tamil Nadu. So this is what's happening every single day. So it hasn't gone away at all. Very much live and kicking. And it's about time we all clean up our act and say, enough is enough, and move on as human beings and forget about all these additions or abbreviations in front of our name or behind our names.
Absolutely.
In the name of caste.
Absolutely. I'm sure when it comes to having blood donation or organ transplant, people are not saying, if you belong to these castes, we are not interested, we rather die.
Believe it or not, I wouldn't be surprised. There are some people who said that. Trust me on that. Because I came across a lady when I was in Sri Lanka. No, after I moved to the UK, but she moved from Sri Lanka. And she told me during the war, there was some group of people refused to eat food given at the camp because it was cooked or provided by certain caste. She told me that this was during the height of the war, whilst people were going through hell. And they are actually even getting one meal was a difficult task, but these people chose not to eat that food given to them purely because it was cooked or provided by certain caste. Can you believe that? You are in the middle of nowhere, bombing and shelling falling on you. You don't even know you're going to live the next minute. Yet, you are so adamant, your ego is so bigger than your soul that you refuse to eat food that was provided by someone who's of certain caste. How disgusting is that?
And with kindness and generosity in that circumstances.
Absolutely. These people are trying to help as much as possible, putting their lives at risk to provide food for the people who are in a refugee camp, like internally displaced people's camp. So they're not in a different country, they're within their own country, but displaced due to the war, bombing and shelling happening every other second. And they getting one meal itself was so difficult. So these people are bringing food, and some people decided not to eat it because it was provided by someone of certain caste. That's how big their egos are. But they're happy to eat the same rice that was bought from the same shop by cooking it at home in the rice cooker that was made by another caste, another person somewhere in the world.
Not many things make me speechless, but this one definitely makes me speechless.
But this is an example I personally can obviously, I mean, as you said, I have been an interpreter since I was 19 and public services. So I get to meet a lot of people from our background. And also at my work, I represent people of certain background. And so I get to meet these, I get to hear so many different stories like this. And I think the one that really touched my heart or made me feel very sad for a long time, I met this young man in 2006. He spoke English reasonably, but for administrative purposes, it's better to have an interpreter. He comes from India from a caste, he said to me, it's known as untouchable. But his parents knew education is the key to a better future for him. So they worked so hard to provide education for him. He went to college, as they call in India, and he met this girl who also comes from his same village. Obviously, things happened, they fell in love. Her family found out because she's of the upper caste. They came and took her away. His friends helped him to escape any violence. But he told me his parents back in their village were made to touch the feet of every single upper caste person in that village to apologize for his wrongdoing of falling in love. The girl also fell in love, remember? But she was taken away. Obviously, she's not happy, but his parents were punished for his wrongdoing of falling in love, that's all. And this was in 2006. Where are we going? How is it going to go away?
I mean, I must say, one thing I felt very strange was, of course, when I, as many people said, first of all, I was in that similar situation for 10 days in the jungle when I had to walk through and, shells and people dropping dead right next to me. But I was really, really blessed to have every single little bite I got from anyone and everyone at that time. Firstly, but second thing I must say is when I went across the pond and went to India, and then I decided to pursue my studies again and apply for dentistry, that's when I got to know in India, you have to put your caste down on your application, which I have obviously never experienced in Sri Lanka. We never had to do it. And, we had to put our religion and that's about it. It was, and I was really surprised that I had to put that. And obviously after that, living for a decade in that country, I got to know much more about how these things play out in, during education and job security and all different aspects of life. But initial reaction was, what are they going to do with my caste in the application for my education? But of course, they choose the education system is such in there that you get preferential treatment for certain backward castes or whatever, because it was done for the right reasons, because they were not given the opportunities at some point. And so and now it has itself, sometimes they say that you become the victim of your own success of the system. And now because it has become a rivalry between different castes, because people think the underprivileged are getting more out of it because they are getting opportunities about this particular. So it's very complex and intricate into the society. And I think unless and until collectively, the reason we agreed to talk about this topic on this, and thank you so much for a doctor who regularly attends this forum for putting across this subject, that saying that please talk about this subject is really important. So thank you so much. You know who you are, and I'm sure you are in the forum right now listening. So thank you so much for it. I never take personal names because I think it's not right. It was told to me in confidence. So, but these are topics which should be talked about more and more. And we, Suja told me the other day, any topic is controversial, I straight away come to Suja. And it's perhaps there's a lot of truth in it, which is true, but I think she can pull it off quite effectively. That's the reason we go to Suja for these things. And she has, like she rightly said, she's at an age bracket. She mingles with both the different spectrum of the age groups and generations of our society. So yes, it is very complex, and I have understood this when I'm living in 3 different countries by now, and every country has its own versions and own ways of presenting it, own ways of application into different things. But as I said, I think I'm leaving India out because it is an adopted country for me. Between Sri Lanka and UK, as Suja said, more and more I'm realizing how powerful this system has been brought into our day-to-day life in the Western countries. The diaspora has definitely brought these things across.
Thank you, Menaca, for mentioning that. And first of all, just because they don't ask about the caste in our application forms in Sri Lanka doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It exists. As you said, the caste system was asked in application forms in India for the right reason, because they were oppressed and suppressed. So they wanted to give something back to them and bring them out of that bracket. And today That has caused a lot of people are arguing or protesting, demonstrating against that, why these people are given extra opportunity. But looking at it prospectively, if you think about in the United Kingdom, slave trade was brought in, and slaves were used to build our London Underground. As a result, there was a policy in place within London Underground to give preference to people of that slave background to get jobs. It's the same practice. And like I said, what Martin Luther King said, he believes that he is in a what's called a shape-fitting, unspoken, race-based caste pyramid in the United States. That's the words he was used. So shape-fitting, unspoken, race-based caste pyramid in the United States. It was literally, it's the dark, in a dark room, in a dark theater, this caste or the class or the system that is created as caste is the blind usher who takes you and say, take a seat to watch the performance. That dark person, that usher is the caste who decide where you get to sit. And that's actually happening. So we very much, it's happening, but it's, as you said, it's so complicated. We can't just say caste doesn't exist, everybody get on with it. Because there are people who were badly treated, who were unequally treated, unfairly treated, discriminated, suppressed and oppressed. We need to bring them out of it. So we have to work on it, but we should not be practicing it every single day in our lives. We shouldn't be making our decisions in our lives based on caste. Like very much in our Sri Lankan community, caste is all about marriage. It's very much spoken when it comes to marriage and relationships. So we probably have to make that decision not to base those decisions on caste. So that would be the biggest first step to eradicate this nasty, contagious disease. COVID got nothing on it. Disease.
It's like a tumor which is, taking root and spreading at a, different pace altogether with the diaspora, I take it. And also to be fair, like rightly you mentioned, Suja, in the Western countries, it is sugar-coated as a class system, I guess, in a way. Like you mentioned, royal family is there, and then white-collar jobs are there, the working class is there. It prevails even here. Only thing is we take the crown at it because we are taking it to another height.
Yes, we take the crown because we practice it quite obviously. We say, okay, you can only do this job. You are only this. I can only do this job. And we very much carry on it quite openly. But then again, in the UK also, there are only certain people doing the certain jobs, or their friends, or their friends' families. So it exists, but in a way that is often overlooked. But all of us got to stop this. All of us got to take a stand not to practice this in our lives. That is very important. That's the only way forward.
So true, Suja. Thank you so much for that. So, knowing the pitfalls of it and knowing that we have to change something, what would be your suggestion to a common man like myself, how we can help eradicate the caste system?
As I said, it's actually a self-reference of conscious, isn't it? It's like an ego. I am better than them. I am superior than them. I have more power. It is those people who got to stop thinking in that note. Nobody is superior than anybody except nature. Nature takes its calls when it's ready. So nobody is superior than anybody. And we are equal. We are human beings. Start there. Simple. We are all human beings. And at the same time, people who are coming from lower castes or who were oppressed and suppressed, they have to come out of it and say, we are equal. We don't have to go against them for any reason. Just that equality, the mentality, it's from within. We have to accept we are human beings. All of us are human beings. We are going to treat each other equally. just like we would expect others to treat each other equally. I must say, I mean, I've just noted someone made comments about it's shown on movies. It's shown on movies very many times. And there's one sentence I remember from a recent movie I've seen, and he said, A calls B and says, oh, when you come back, we need to deal with this guy. He's now he's from a different caste. He's married our cousin. None of us knew about it. They eloped, etc. And the other guy who's living abroad at that time, he would say, once you cross the border, we are also lower caste to the people here. So don't you worry about it. Let's get on with it. So just remember that. Once you cross the border, you are actually looked down upon. So don't look down upon and think you are better, you are superior, because there are people to look down on you. So until you start and make that difference within you, it will never stop.
Sure. Thank you, Suja. Going back to something I remembered from a conversation, a Caribbean girl once told me, a Caribbean African girl told me once, somehow, you guys think we are inferior, and we have had this conversation that British brought Indians or South Asians to different parts of the world for some or the other kind of work, and that has also created its own difficulties. What are your thoughts about this? Yeah.
Well, you're talking about East Africa, I
Yes,
presume,
correct.
because when people were brought from India to East Africa by the British to work, pretty much the Indians were given sort of administrative level jobs, etc., whereas the people from Africa were asked to do manual labor, etc. So there was this hierarchy created, and again, our people looked down upon them. This is why, I mean, my fellow friends also have mentioned that this happens, that people, Asian or the brown-skinned people look down on black-skinned people in a way, because it's happening in our community. And obviously we come from a multicultural society, live in the United Kingdom, and our friends make these comments and tell us this, this happens. And I'll give you an example. A British brought up Tamil girl, let's say, she goes to university, she meets someone, and she's getting married. If she meets a white guy and gets married, her parents are happy to announce that after struggling with it within themselves for a long, long time. And eventually when they came out, she's married to his English, his dad's this, his mom's that. At the same time, if the same girl had met a black guy from Caribbean or African, he's probably a fellow from a university who does the same job, etc. Our Tamil people, I'm talking from my personal experience, from what I heard, struggle a lot to talk about it, even to say my son-in-law is from Africa or Caribbean. They find it difficult to accept it. Why? God only knows.
But that shouldn't come as a surprise, Suja, because colorism is very well rooted in our society. We have spoken about this in this forum. Your skin color is $1 million worth in our society, unfortunately, which shouldn't be, because we talk about discrimination, like you said, from other people. We are very happy to discriminate according to our color, according to our caste, according to our religion and background, whatnot. So, it shouldn't come as a shock to any one of us why we are okay to have intercultural marriage to someone, a certain part of the world, or certain colored skin color and not certain skin color. Don't you think so, Suja?
It's quite normal, because we will choose to discriminate someone based on anything as long as it works in our favor. It's just simple as that. It only affects when it hurts us. If we as a person have been discriminated based on our skin color, based on our race, based on our ethnicity, that's when we will think about it. I mean, we come from, as Sri Lankan Tamils, we come from a country where our ethnicity was subjected to the oppression. That's where most of us are here. But yet, we are happy to forget about it once we are here and use caste as a system to fight amongst ourselves and discriminate amongst ourselves. No wonder why we are here.
It's not only about here, Suja. Like if you are telling in the midst of war, if you are able to hold on to that thing and say we are not going to have the food, which really made me speechless for a change. Are you really surprised when you are in the safety of your comfort? As a diaspora, you are practicing these things really.
Oh, it's not surprising, but it's absolutely shameful.
100%.
We traveled a long way to get here because we were oppressed. And then we come here, find comfort, find protection. And then we decided, okay, let's start discriminating each other based on caste. It's absolutely shameful. It is embarrassing to sit here and talk about it today in 2021.
Yes, I mean, we need to have another show for it. So let me not start.
No, that will be never ending.
Which part of the town you are from, or which part of the tiny little island of Sri Lanka where you come from?
Well, actually, this doctor we met yesterday, who actually gave us the permission to quote him, but we decided not to reveal his name, who told us that he had to ring his father and ask about his caste back in Sri Lanka after coming to the UK, actually told us, you two should be talking about this matter, the segregation based on where we come from in Sri Lanka. So we've been
from India. India is no different. Yeah, I know.
But I wouldn't know about that. It's just personal experience. And he suggested that as a topic to Menaca. So
yeah,
there you go.
He did suggest me. He did suggest me to talk about it. As I said, I think we need another show for that another day, because people who are on the show, I'm sure that when you come from different parts of Sri Lanka or India, you come with certain tags and whether it's superior, inferior, from where you come from. So it really, really matters. So thank you so much, Suja. And, we are coming to that time of the day to wrap it up. For people who are on the Zoom, please hold on, because we will be taking questions. Last question to you, Suja. If you have to tell 3 things, what people should start applying from today to eradicate the caste system altogether, as little as we can, because one step at a time, I'm sure it is, a long way to go. What would they be?
It is a long way to go, but I do not believe we need 3 things. We just need 1 thing. Be human. Be human. You are a human. Treat the other person human equally. That's all we need. Everything else just falls within that when we decide we are superior and inferior. So be human. Treat other person like how you would like to be treated by them.
Yeah,
that's all it is.
With compassion.
I mean, I guess that's what one of the 10 commandments say: love your neighbor that you love yourself. Yeah. So treat each other equally, things will fall into place.
To be honest, no religion has told us to look down upon anyone. Every single religion has preached the right things, and it's people who, flourish. And
it's a man-made system to give power to some people and some powerless to other people.
Sure. Thank you so much, Suja. And, there's no surprises. We come to you when we need to address these controversial subjects, because nobody can do this better. So thank you so much for that. And so we will come back to questions a bit later. Following tradition, I'm going to announce what it is next week. Episode 67, we will be talking about, are you an introvert, extrovert, or an ambivert, with Dr. Jihen Mabe, clinical psychologist and assistant professor at the American University in the Emirates. She is no stranger, like Suja, to our platform. She came and spoke about narcissism and narcissistic behavior last time, which was another controversial topic and which we wanted to talk about. This was, again, we have started taking the requests from audiences who are regularly attending. And this was another request from another audience who is also happens to be a doctor. She asked me, can you please address this topic? Are you introvert, extrovert, or ambivert? Because a lot of people are not aware of these things. And I went through a personal development journey, and I have done, spent enough money and enough time and effort to get to know. But it is, it's an in-depth area, and there are so many different ways to find out, and I'm sure the psychologists and psychiatrists are already, their brains are buzzing with questions about these topics. So I can't wait to hear this next week. Now over to Kirubei Kohut to give the word of thanks.
On behalf of Meet Menaca celebrating you, we'd like to thank the people who are watching on Facebook, your kind presence as you every week, without fail, come and join us and support this cause. And for those who are participating on this platform, we would also like to thank you for your undying support and your grace as you grace this platform every week without fail. Last but not least, this is something I would like to share. There is a moment where you have to choose whether to be silent or stand up. So are we going to be standing up for this cause, or are we going to be silent? And as rightly so, Suja spoke so eloquently. Suja sincerely unveiled justice of how we have to overcome caste system, and it has to stop right now. So thank you, Suja, for your sharing and food for thought for all of us. Let's stand for justice. Let's eradicate discrimination. Thank you.
Thank you, Kirubei. That's so lovely.
Thank you, Kirubei. Thank you so much. And thank you, Suja, once again for being the powerful speaker you are and addressing these very difficult, very complex subjects very fluently and very eloquently. So thank you once again. For people who are watching on Facebook, next week, same time, same place, we will be talking about, are you an introvert, extrovert, or an ambivert? Let's find out with Dr. Jihen Mabe, clinical psychologist and assistant professor at the American University in the Emirates. It would be our episode 67. As we requested before, it is a platform for social change. Please support us by subscribing to our YouTube channels. Please spread this message wide and across the globe, because I think we do pick up subjects which are relevant to all societies. So please help us by supporting us, subscribing us, sharing these messages with your friends, family, and with as many people as you can. For people who are watching us with Facebook, a lot of gratitude for supporting us so far. It has come to that time of the day to say goodbye. Until we see you next time, same place, same time. Stay safe, be happy, and keep smiling.